Okay, so we are going to go through all of Section 2 on the PSAT booklet for the school year 2012-2013. Number 1, you have to solve for x first. I'm going to recopy my equation. And to solve for x, I'm going to subtract the 4. And then divide by 2. So x is 2. Now I'm going to use that value and substitute it in to the other equation. So we get 12 plus 4, which is 16. So our answer is C. So a ratio is the number that you want out of the total. So we're going to do cats out of total. So there's 3 cats. In total there's 2 mice plus 3 cats plus 6 dogs. So when we add up 2 plus 3 plus 6 we get 11. So that is 3 to 11. For number 3, we first have to find this angle, and then we can use that to find x. I know this is a linear pair, so 180 minus 110 is going to be my value for y. And then in a triangle, all of the angles have to add to 180. 40 and 70, when you add those together, is 110. And we're going to subtract 110 to the other side. So x is 70. For this one, I'm going to use a tally system. I'm going to count for $5, for $4.50, and for $2.50. So the first, 1 book for $5, 2 books for $4.50, 4 books for $2.50, 3 more books, and 2 books for $5. So the most frequent is the highest number of tallies, which is here, 5, so $4.50 is our answer. So here we have to do a conversion. 16 yards, well, let's convert that to feet. Well, if 1 yard is 3 feet, 16 times 3 will convert my 16 yards to 48 feet. So now we're comparing 48 feet to 16 feet. How much longer is a subtraction problem? And 48 minus 16 is 32 feet. I'm going to look for a pattern here for 6. And I notice r squared equals s. So 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. So my relation is r squared. Probability is the percent out of the total. And since we want the person that answered black, they said 20% of those people said that's their favorite color. So 20% out of a total of 100%. These zeros reduce, and we're left with 2 out of 10, which reduces to 1/5. Always mark up your picture when it's geometric. So angle RPQ is this angle, and that's 40. SPU is 70. So this whole angle here is 70. What is the measure SPT? So we need to find, this is x. I know that this angle is 40 because it's a vertical angle with RPQ. And if that's the case, 70 minus 40 is 30 degrees, so A. f of x is 2x, finding f of 5t means replace anywhere there's an x with 5t. And then we will simplify, and that's 10t. t. To find the answer to 10, I'm going to use a system of equations since we have two equations and two variables. And I notice the coefficients of the by's are the same. Are opposite signs. So if we add these equations together, these cancel. We get 2ax's equals 18. Divide both sides by 2. So ax is 9. And that's our answer choice B. If a triangle has a perimeter of 18 and it's equilateral, all three sides are equal. So 18 divided by 3 would give you the length of each side, which is 6. Now, this segment is your radius. So that means the radius is 6. And the diameter is twice the radius, so 2 times 6 is 12. For distance, rate, and time, distance always equals rate multiplied by time. So if I substitute in the rate that they're giving us, 2r plus 4, and it's 2 hours, I can simplify this by using distribution to get 4r plus 8, and that's choice E. This picture I'm going to split into two different shapes. There's a rectangle and a triangle. So this rectangle, this segment at the bottom is a length of 3, and this segment is a length of 4, which means this is 4, and then to get to a height of 10, this would have to be 6. And this part is also 3. So if we want the total area, we first have a triangle with those measurements, and we have a rectangle with those measurements. And in case you forget, the very front section of the math section on the PSAT has these formulas. The SAT also has these formulas, the ACT does not. So here for the triangle, the area of the triangle is 1/2 base times height, which is 9. And this area is base times height, which is 12. And we would add them together. So 12 plus 9 is 21. And that's choice B. For this problem, we're going to write an equation for the two different scenarios. Anytime you see the word per, that's your indication for slope. So for a video vendor, that's $6 per game. And a fee is your y-intercept, and we don't have one. Now for a garage game, put 0 there. For a garage game, it's $3 per game. Oh, I shouldn't be using G. There's too many G's here. I want to keep all my variables different. So $3 per game with a $60 annual membership. Oh, and they tell me N needs to represent the number of games. Cost less for garage game. So I want to know when garage game is less than the video vendor. So to solve that, I'm going to set up my inequality. I'm going to move my variables to one side and divide by 3. So 20 is less than n. I can totally flip that inequality and read it as n is greater than 20, and that's our answer E. first I will label my picture. Area of ABCD. So that's the whole figure. If this triangle is congruent to this triangle, which is what they're saying by same size and shape, I know that this piece is congruent to this piece will be congruent to this piece, and the whole leg here, CE, will equal BF. So that will be helpful as we go through and figure that out. If that's 2, this is 2. And because DE is 3, this piece is 3, so CE is a length of 5, which means this segment here, BF, is also 5, since the triangles are congruent. I can color code that. This side corresponds to this side. The hypotenuse, this hypotenuse corresponds to this hypotenuse. And lastly, this leg corresponds to this leg. So when I go to figure out the area, I'm going to do this in 3 pieces again. First, my rectangle. So that's ABFE is base times height, which is 10. And triangle BCF is 1/2 the base times the height, which is 15 divided by 2. And triangle CDE will be also 15 divided by 2, since they are exactly congruent. So when we find our area and add them all up, we have 10 plus 15 over 2 plus 15 over 2. I'm going to start with my fractions. They already have a common denominator, so that's 30 divided by 2. But we know that equals 15. So 10 plus 15 is my final answer of 25. So 10 is the smallest. And then an integer is a positive or negative whole number. So 10 plus 4 others has to equal 100. And they're all different. Well, so if they are all greater than 10, and I want the largest possible value of one of the others, let's make these closest in value to the 10. So when I add all of this up, we get 46. So then when I subtract that to the other side, I'll know the largest possible value for this missing blank, and that is 54. And that's our answer here in B. Well, we know that 2x equals 3y. I'm going to start with just part of the proportion. And when I divide by 3, 2/3 x is y. Then I can also do the same process for 2x and 4z. I'm going to pair up those and solve for z. We get 1/2 x equals z. Now I can replace in my sum. I'm going to use substitution and replace this in the y, replace this in the z. I need a common denominator to add these all up, so I'm going to use 6, which means here this needs to be multiplied by 2 over 2 and this one by 3 over 3. So we have 4, 6 plus 3, 6. Adding all together, we get 13, 6x, and that is the value of how many times the sum is larger. When you reflect about the line y equals x, that's an inverse. So that would become -5, -2 for A, and B is going to change to 2, 3. So when I find the slope between these points, remember our slope formula, and when I substitute that in, we get 5 over 7. Choice D. So for number 19, I'm going to solve this for y. Divide both sides by 5. And then I'm going to substitute that in to the problem that they give us. I'm going to hold my spot there for a denominator. So when I simplify, the square root of 5 times the square root of 5, when you multiply fractions, multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So this equals x root 25 divided by 5, all divided by 5x. Well, the square root of 25 is 5. Well, 5 divided by 5 is 1. And when these x's divide, x divided by x, we're left with 1 over 1, so that is 1/5. Choice A. And for the last problem, number 20. Greatest increase from the previous month look for the steepest slope. So that happens between month 3 and 4. So when it says increase from the previous month, that would be month 4. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not going to look for the slope. You're looking for the difference between. So if I draw this line, if I draw these individual segments, the greatest change is from this short distance to this longer distance. So that's why it's month 4.